I've never really been a huge Apple fan. Great products, quality products. But today I want to explain why Apple is a group of innovators, not necessarily a group of inventors. So a little known fact is Apple does not actually manufacture their products. Apple does not actually invent their products. What Apple does is they go out and they have the eye for tech. They have an eye for emerging technology. So they'll see something that's interesting, they'll purchase the rights to whatever that product is or that idea is. And what Apple has always done, Steve Jobs has always done, is they will package that product with a host of other products in an elegant, sleek package, and then they'll sell it to the consumer. So what I want to do today is I'm going to run down a list of the most popular inventions that people think that Apple actually invented. And if there's something that I leave out on the list, please feel free to put it on there, because I will research and look it up for you to see if Apple actually invented that particular product. So if you find anything that I didn't put on this list, make sure that you put it down and I will research it for you and I'll find out if Apple was the actual inventor of that particular product. So the most popular misconception that Apple actually invented is the personal computer. And even from the book that Steve Jobs wrote, he states that they went to a conference, and at the conference they had a personal computer on display. Okay, and what he did was he and Steve Wozniak went back and, hey, we can make our own computer. And they went out and made a plastic body, and they created the Apple I. Now the other one is, and a lot of people will swear by it, but it's not true, is that Apple invented the mouse. And Apple did not invent the mouse. Again, this is another conference that they went to. The computer had a mouse. It also had its own graphical user interface, a GUI, which is basically the icons like on Windows that you click on and it opens the icon for you instead of using command line. So they didn't invent the personal computer, nor did they invent the mouse or the graphical user interface. So the next on the list is the portable digital music player, or MP3 player as people dubbed it. And the first one that we find is the Audio Highways Listen Up, which came out back in 1997. Now the iPod, which everyone swears is the first one, did not come out till 2001. So it was popularized by Apple, not necessarily invented by Apple. Now we move forward to iTunes. And this is another one. Now, iTunes was the most successful online media store, but iTunes was not the first. Actually, it was a site, a Latin music site called Ritmotica.com. And they actually grew to about 300,000 downloads a day. I mean, they were really popular, and Apple purchased them. And Apple uses that infrastructure to this day for iTunes. Alright, so now we get to smartphones. And I know the first thing everybody's going to say is, oh, it's the iPhone, blah, 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 they did this. Now, the iPhone was the most popular smartphone, and it revolutionized an entire industry. And I personally say that the iPhone is the most revolutionary invention in 15 years. But I get off topic. Now, the first smartphone that I can find goes all the way back to 1993, and that's a long time for a lot of people, but it's the IBM, what did they call it? The IBM Simon. And it was a mobile phone. It also had an address book, a calendar, a calculator. You could email people, you could fax people. It had games, it had a notepad, and it had a world clock. And as a matter of fact, it even had a touchscreen, although it was really primitive compared to the stuff that we have now. But they had smartphones way back in '93. So again, that's another one that Apple did not invent. Now, since I brought up the iPhone, and one of the huge features and the most accessible feature was the touchscreen. And a lot of people credit Apple with the invention of the touchscreen, but Apple did not actually invent the touchscreen. The touchscreen was actually invented way back when in 1967, I believe 67 or 69, and the first actual noteworthy invention that used the touchscreen was the Nintendo DS. And the Nintendo DS came out in what, 2004. Now again, the Nintendo DS could only use a single touch point, so you can only touch one particular point and it would recognize that at a time. But again, that was the first commercial product to fully utilize the touchscreen. Now I'm hearing chimes from the back. What about the tablet? Apple created the tablet, and Apple did not actually create the tablet. Microsoft created the tablet, and it ran a specialized version of Windows XP, and it had a swiveling screen, and you could convert it from a tablet to a PC, and it had all these other features. But what Apple did is they learned from the mistakes of Microsoft, which the tablet that they created was normally used in hospitals. It had a real niche market. Apple ditched the stylus in favor of the finger. Then they went for content consumption. So they made a lot of apps that you could just do stuff on, and it was easy to use, intuitive. And again, Apple, and this is a theme with Apple, they created the most popular item in that particular genre. So they made it popular. So everybody remembers the lawsuit between Apple and Samsung. Big battle. Apple won $1 billion. It was later cut down. But a couple of things. They sued for the icons on the home screen. You know, clicking the little icons there. And again, that's not an actual Apple invention. They also sued for the slide to unlock. And that's another invention that was not invented by Apple. They also sued for the design of the iPhone, which is a rectangle with smooth edges. And they were suing Samsung, and Samsung was actually the first one to come out with that particular design. They just didn't patent it. It was a phone that was a rectangle with smooth edges. And it's a recurring theme. Apple is a group of innovators. They're not a group of inventors. So I know there's a few that I left out. There's the mag connector that Macs are so famous for. Apple's one of the first people to use Wi-Fi. They didn't invent Wi-Fi. There's a lot of them in there. So if you find anything, make sure you leave it down in the comments. I'll make sure that I look it up for you. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you click the like button. And as always, if you want to see more, hit subscribe. And like I said, I always want to tell you thank you, and I appreciate you guys watching.